You're listening to The Rough Draft, a not so average personal development podcast for purpose driven women ready to rewrite their story. It's a show about evolution, changing narratives, and rewriting our life's rough drafts. I interview some of the world's top female leaders in business, energetics, love, relationships, money, and personal power about their humble beginnings and shifts that got them here. I'm your host, Sabrina Greer, writer, speaker, book publisher, serial entrepreneur, and mentor to women in life and business. Let's rewrite. I'm super excited for our guest today. We have Adva with us. And let me tell you a little bit about her. Her new book is out today, and I'm super excited to chat all about it. So she is an early childhood educator, teacher, coach, and speaker with a passion for helping teachers thrive both inside and beyond the classroom. She hosts the top-rated podcast, Shaping Little Minds, where she shares insights, strategies, and real conversations that empower educators at every stage in their journey. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology, an early childhood education and master's degree in education specializing in special education and educational leadership. Adva brings a deeply informed, holistic perspective to her work. And today she runs a coaching and consulting business dedicated to supporting teachers in creating more freedom, fulfillment, and financial stability, whether by strengthening their classroom practice or building simple, sustainable side hustles that fit their lives. And now we're going to add best-selling author to that repertoire of a bio. I'm super excited to have you here. How's it going? Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So tell me, what was the drive behind writing a book?
Well, I've always wanted to write a book. That was always like a thing in the back of my head. I knew I wanted to write it in the education space because that was my passion. It's always been my passion. Um, and I saw things in my first years of teaching that really just didn't sit well with me. And I noticed it wasn't only within the school that I was in, but it was across the board was happening. And I wanted to make those changes. And part of that was writing a book.
Amazing. Well, and I think it's so important because podcasts, there's so many niche podcasts. You could literally find a podcast about anything. Any single thing, the craziest stuff is out there, the craziest
Hmm.
content. But a book is so helpful because it's something you can actually like have with you. You can revisit it, you can go back to it. So tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about like who is this book for? Who should go and get their copy today? I mean, obviously everybody, but like who is it really truly for?
This book is really for teachers who are in their first years of teaching, who are in the throes of it, or teachers who are transitioning from college and have gotten their first job inside of a classroom.
Do you want to share a little bit about how you got into doing this work? Like for like the consulting for teachers, and because I know you have a bit of a story of your own and that sort of was the catalyst, isn't it always?
Yep,
Something doesn't exist when we're going through the thing and then we build it.
exactly. So I started my teaching career 11 years ago. And when I started, I had a degree in psychology. I didn't know a thing about what it entailed to be a teacher, like what is really needed inside of a classroom and what is expected. And so I went into a classroom having lots of camp experience, knowing that I wanted to work with little ones, but no idea what it meant to lesson plan, to manage a classroom, to navigate behaviors. And as we know now, we're seeing a ton more behaviors than we were 11 years ago. Teacher coaches didn't exist at the time. There were mentor teachers, but my school never did a mentorship program of any sort. So I just kind of went with the flow, but it wasn't enough for me to actually help in the classroom in the sense of I was hired as a co-teacher. I was teaching a second language, and I was supposed to be doing half of the lessons. So a few times a week, I was supposed to be teaching. And guess who didn't teach at all? I did not teach. The lack of confidence, the lack of understanding and knowing what I was doing inside of the classroom kind of got to me. And it was that year that in April, May, around this time of year, my boss sat me down and said, "You're not meeting expectations, and we need to figure this out because it's very frustrating for your other co-teachers in the classroom. And these are the things that you need to be doing, i.e., lesson planning, etc." So that came around, and I was very concerned that I wouldn't get my job the following year. And that's everyone's concern. That's every new teacher's concern. But when my boss sat me down, I knew I needed something needed to change.
Mm, yeah. So we all have our story, right? Like we've been through some things, and now you get to help other people go through their journey.
Hmm.
So share with me where you would suggest a teacher start. Like if they were in that position where you were, like brand new to the classroom, like where, and I know, spoiler alert, you'll learn more in the book, but give us a little taster, a little teaser.
Honestly, my number one suggestion to any teacher, any new teacher, is find a mentor. It doesn't matter if it's paid, free, I don't care. Find a mentor. That's what I was missing when I started. I lacked a mentor. I lacked a person who would be able to give me the direction that I needed so that I could succeed in my first year. And I saw this continuously happening with other teachers. And that's kind of where my coaching program formed and where my business kind of came into play. But the first thing I always tell teachers is find a mentor. It can be another teacher in your school, in your district. It can be through a mentorship program if your school has one, or it can be private mentorship like what I do for teachers.
And I think maybe if you're listening and you're thinking, well, I'm not a teacher, so this isn't relevant for me, I think that advice is across the board. If you want to do something, like we know, we don't know what we don't know, right? It's like if you
Hmm.
want to do something, it's not about putting people on a pedestal or, like pretending like you're an idiot. It's like people have gone before us. That's why there's business coaches. That's why there's financial coaches. That's why there's publishing support people and consultants and different kinds of support and mentorship out there. I think
For sure.
everyone needs a mentor, and mentors need mentors. And
Yes.
it's like it's just like a therapist needs a therapist and a doctor needs a doctor. Like a brain surgeon's not going to do brain surgery on themselves. If they need brain surgery, are they? Like we all
Yep.
need support, and I think so many of us, especially women, right? Women in all fields, and I know that the teaching field is I don't know. I'm guessing it's predominantly women.
Yep.
So, and probably a lot of the people you work with are women too. We can talk about that in a moment. But I do feel like as women, we often feel like we can't ask for help. Like it's something that we have to do ourselves, or we're a failure, or asking for help makes us weak in some way. Do you want to speak
Yeah.
to that a little bit? Like, do you see that in your line of work? Is that something that comes up a lot?
Yeah. So I work with all women. And I find that the women that I work with specifically struggle to ask for help for sure because they also have lives outside of teaching. And nowadays, especially, there's this double standard for teachers where like they're not allowed to have lives outside of school and they shouldn't be on social media. There's all this controversy around teaching and teachers, and it's crazy because a business coach or a business person can be have a social media presence, right? And nobody questions, nobody asks, and have a life outside of work. They work the 9 to 5 job, and once they clock out, they're done. Um, so for sure, asking for help, and that was me when I started teaching, I knew I needed help. I didn't know how to ask for it. And so I didn't get the help. And there was no such thing as a teacher coach or a teacher mentor unless you were in a school that had a mentorship program inside of it. There was no such thing. Those things weren't really common back then. And it's like it's only been 10 years, but 10 years, in 10 years, a lot of things have changed in the education world. Um, so yeah, like I see a lot of teachers struggle to ask what they for what they need for help, but also they tend to um, put their lives on the back burner, even though they know they shouldn't. And they put the classrooms first. And over the last few years, that's one thing I refuse to do because it it creates a culture that isn't so healthy. And like I saw someone post online about how when she started putting her family first rather than the classroom first, her administration had a big issue with it. And if you start off like that, of course your administration is going to have an issue when you start putting your family first. So I think part of that is number one, learning to ask for help, which I always talk about. Even if it's just from the teacher across the hall, like it doesn't have to be a mentor or someone that you're assigned to, or from a book.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from books. I read a lot of education books. Um, but it's the asking for help piece and the piece of my life isn't as important as this job. And we make teaching our entire life. And I did it for a long time.
It's interesting because I see this a lot in my line of work too, and I want this to I want when people read a book, if they're not a teacher, I still want them to be able to see themselves in this because I think this applies to all jobs,
Yeah.
all things in life. It's like,
Yeah.
of course, we have to ask for help. That's very important. Like we can't do everything on our own. It's like a business owner, in my line of work, I see it all the time too. It's like people have this calling to write a book and they know they want to write a book and it's important work and it's important things, but it's the opposite of what you're saying. It's like they don't take it seriously or it's not a priority because of their family or because of their job or because of their other thing. And I just think it's important to be able to balance all the things. And
Yeah.
we all know balance isn't real. It's like, it's practice instead. It's like
Yeah.
what are you prioritizing and what are you making important to you? And I think you can have a life and have a job that you love with boundaries in place. It's like
Agree.
work is work and my social life is my social life and my things are my things. And I don't know, and you can tell me if this is true or not, but that culture you're speaking of like teachers aren't allowed to have social media or a life outside of the students, is that predominantly coming from the parents, I wonder? Or is it coming from the administration? Is it coming from
I'm not sure where it's coming from.
mm,
Um, I think a lot of it comes from the parents because the parents find teachers on social media, and a lot of those teachers have big platforms. Um, I know one person specifically who had a parent find their social media and it got them into some trouble, even though she really wasn't doing anything wrong. Um, it's become a big issue because teachers are speaking out on social media. What's happening is teachers are speaking out about the things that they're seeing that aren't working. And the administration don't necessarily have an issue. Depends on the administration. Every school is different. But a lot of times, if parents are seeing those things, that's when the issue becomes more of a
visible?
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's similar to like during the pandemic, like like frontline medical workers and stuff, like they were compassion fatigued and they were dealing with a lot of like unjust behaviors in the system and they were being overworked and too long of hours and all the things, being forced
Hmm.
into making certain decisions. And I think social media allows us to speak up about things. It allows us to get loud. And I think it's the same when you write a book. And here's what I always tell my people. It's like you can't make everyone happy. You can't. You're lucky if you get 51% of the human population that likes your stuff because the other 49 is going to hate it. Like that is it's we've seen it for forever. It's in
Yeah.
politics, it's in religion, it's in like literally every single social construct there is.
Yep.
It's 50-50. It's, some people will absolutely love it and thank you for your work and think it's wonderful and amazing and perfect and all the things, and then the other 50% will completely disagree. And
Yep.
some people go and, we call them trolls or whatever, but some people go as far to be like, that is inappropriate or disgusting or, it's like, so as a teacher, go have a life, be on social media. You cannot make every parent happy. You cannot make any administration happy. Like, you just can't. You can't make
Yep.
everyone happy. You got to go
Agreed.
out and live your life and do your thing because that's what it's all about. Otherwise, what's the freaking point, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, you're stuck in the same routine, same pattern every single day and miserable.
Yeah.
And I talk about that a lot on my social media platform because there are a lot of teachers who want to start businesses, who want to write books, who want to do all these things, but never do them.
Mm-hmm.
I brought my book to school and showed a few teachers who knew I was writing a book. And the response from one of them was, "I'm so jealous. I've always wanted to write a book." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, you should."
Yeah.
She's like, "I don't have time." But that's
Hmm.
always the case.
It's always the case. That's that priority thing again. It's like
Hmm.
I don't like the expression we all have the same 24 hours in a day because, it can trigger people, but at the end of the
Yeah,
day, we do. It's like I have three kids, I have four properties, I have this podcast, I have clients, I have a million things going on, but you make time for things that feel important. Now,
right.
I've always done this exercise with my clients and my people that I work with of like changing can't to won't. So it's like you don't say you can't do something because that's an excuse. It's like if you can't do it, oh, because I don't have time, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the energy, or I don't have
Always.
the stamina, or blame someone else. Like it's my kid's fault or my husband's fault, or he won't let me, he won't do it. Like blah 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 blah. That's noise. But when you just simply say no, I won't. That's a desire, but the opposite. It's like I don't want to, therefore I won't. But if you
Right.
check in with yourself and that doesn't feel correct because you actually want to do it and you're making excuses for it, that's how you know, right? That's how I always
Yeah.
check in with myself. It's like if I say no to something, I won't do that. It's either out of integrity for me to do it, it's something I don't agree with or don't want to do, or it's actually just something I'm like it's a boundary. I don't want it. No, I won't go to your kid's birthday party or no, I won't go to that concert or no, I won't do it. I never say I
Yep.
can't, right? And
Yeah.
it's like no, I won't do that because it's against my value system or I don't want to. But you'll
Yeah.
never hear the words I can't come out of my mouth. And I think that's something that we all could learn is like when it comes to boundaries. It's like and this is relevant in anything, but especially in the school system.
Teaching.
It's like no.
Something
No
I talk
is a
about.
complete sentence.
I talk about boundaries and I talk about the power of saying no.
Yeah.
Both those topics are big topics in the book because especially as new teachers, teachers want to please and they want to show the higher ups that they're good enough for the job. And so a lot of times that means sacrificing their own boundaries. That means being a yes girl. So saying yes to everything. And so I talk about how just because you say no doesn't mean you're selfish, doesn't mean you're mean. It just is a boundary. It's you saying, no, this is not what I'm doing today. Teachers are asked to do clubs after a full day of school, are asked to stay after school for meetings. They're asked to do so much in the school day and then asking them to do more. And it's not sustainable. And that's kind of where the book came from, is wanting to make teaching sustainable. We can't change politics, but we can change the way we approach it. That's always been my core belief.
Yeah. Well, and I love something that you've said in your work on social media and in the book about side hustles. So can you explain what a side hustle is and like how you help teachers specifically with that work?
Yeah, so teachers don't get paid what they need to get paid to be able to live a decent life outside of teaching. And it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what the economy is like, it's just not plausible. And so I started to focus on side hustles, personal brands, building businesses. And I walk teachers through the steps that I took to build the brand that I have through showing up on social media, creating offers, using the skills that they already have that they use in the classroom every single day. Um, and I help teachers in two ways. I have a signature program that is a group program for teachers that gives them 4 months to go from idea to uh, 1 to 3 clients. Or I also do a more personal touch, which is one-on-one. And I help teachers not only balance teaching and a side hustle or a personal brand, but also create that extra income that they want.
Yeah, I think that's so important because you're right. Like we all talk about, oh, it's a pension and you get summers off and like this glamorous and glowy job, but like at the end of the day, you're not getting paid enough. And you can't build. It's not like you get this amount of raise per year and like but you don't get bonuses. There's no opportunities for growth really. Not exponential growth. It's like
Yeah, I think also the problem is as teachers, we weren't taught that we can do anything outside of teaching. And I talk about that a lot as well. I talk about how we're taught, we go to school for teaching, we get our own classroom, and maybe if we want to, we move up to administration. And if not, we stay teachers forever until we're ready to retire. And even like those summer vacations and the winter vacation and the spring vacation, teachers aren't getting paid for those days. They might be getting a paycheck, but that paycheck doesn't include those days. So those days are days that they're not getting paid for anyway. Some teachers are not even paid over the summer. They're paid 10-month salary. Um, so it all depends on the school and on the district. And yes, there are pensions. Yes, there are better benefits when you're in public school versus private school. But even still, it's not enough. I'm in New Jersey and the the housing market is insane right now. Like little houses are going for almost $1 million, right? US dollars. It's impossible to buy a house at an affordable rate. And then the 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom apartments are going for $2,000 and up. Some teachers aren't even making that in a month. They rely
okay, so
on
I
their
want that
partner.
to be a segue into the next piece because it's something that comes up a lot, not just in teacher world, but
Hmm.
in women specifically.
Yeah.
And that's burnout.
Okay. Mm,
Tell
yeah.
me your interpretation of burnout and like how you face it because I know you've experienced it. I
I
know you've
talk about
helped
my
I know you've
experiences.
helped clients through it.
Hmm.
And I see it a lot. I see it a lot in women who are navigating a full-time job, one where they're underpaid and not like they're not compensated for the amount of effort and energy they're putting into something. And I see it when they're balancing families and balancing a home life and balancing, we all have a million things going on. So like how do you support your clients that are maybe on the verge of burnout? What are maybe some signs that you're getting close to that spot? Like what should people look for?
Yeah. So I've experienced it myself. I experienced it in year 7 of teaching. And part of that was because I threw myself into teaching and my identity was around being a teacher. And so there are a few things. I see a lot of clients who are going from one thing to the next to the next to the next and not actually listening to their body when they need the rest and then crashing at the end of it. So that's one piece that I'm seeing, like especially amongst teachers, is they go, 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 and then at some point they just crash. And it takes them a week to get back on their feet to be able to do it again. And then they don't change anything. So they keep going. They keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. That's what I was doing. Um, I think a lot of times burnout is also experienced, especially via teachers, when they are not supported in their classrooms. They experience all of these behaviors, these struggles that they're dealing with in the classroom. If the teachers aren't feeling like they are being supported and they are being given the support that they need, it can really weigh on them and it can end up burning them out because they're putting out fires all day, every day. And that happened to me this year. I was putting out fires every single day. I still am every single day. And I wasn't really getting much. And as much as I stood up for myself and I said what I needed to say, I still am struggling to this day. Now, for me, I was able to say, okay, school is school. When I come home, school is behind me. I'm not talking about it. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not doing any work. And that's easier said than done for many teachers. But that's also part of it. It's dealing with so much in the classroom and not feeling like they're supported, not feeling like they're getting the classroom support specifically, not outside, not parent support, not any of that, but classroom support where they're not getting administration help or they're not getting support for the child who is running out the door or is throwing a tantrum or is consistently hurting friends and not having a safe body because they need more. And that is what's burning teachers out. And then to add to that, if teachers have a business, a brand, a side hustle, they have to do that work on top of it. So it can really, I don't know, it can cause a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelm, and therefore spiral into burnout as well.
Yeah. I had this interesting picture come through as you were talking of like a fire and a fire hose. And it's like we're the fire hose, like the one doing the stuff. We're trying to put out this fire and it won't go out. And it's just kind of like we're wasting all of our energy and expelling all of this energy to try and put out these fires constantly and it doesn't stop. And that's like the brain chemicals, right? If you're constantly in overdrive, you're constantly giving, you're constantly shooting out your fire hose and with this high pressure trying to put out these fires all the time, of course you burn out. Like you literally
Mhm.
run out of water, like you run out of resources to support yourself. Like that is what burnout is, right? It's adrenal fatigue. It's like you burn it at both ends, like you're done. You're cooked. So
Hmm.
I love that visual came through as you were speaking, because I think it's really, yes, all women experience it, especially working women who have a career. Like entrepreneurs burn out too, but it's a whole different vibe because it's like you got to figure out your own stuff. So when you're trying to do it all, like you're doing entrepreneurship on one side, like your side hustle, you're doing a job, you have a family, you have like a social life, you're also like a daughter and a sister and a thing and a whatever, like whatever you identify as, there's all these pieces that go into it. And then
Yeah.
of course you're burning out. And then you look in the mirror and you're like, what's wrong with me? Why do I feel horrible? Why am I gaining weight? Why am I sick? Why am I tired? Why am I like living off of caffeine? Like that's
Yeah.
why. you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I talk about that in my book. I talk about the journey that I had to take because I didn't deal with the burnout when it initially showed up in my life and in teaching.
Yeah. So last question before we get to all the fun things about your book. But what did you do to finally like feel, and I know it's, oh, we're all a work in progress, like we're forever figuring it out and working on healing, but like if you could
Yeah.
give the audience one tip if they're experiencing burnout or if they're struggling with balancing their career and family and side hustle and all the things, like what's one piece of advice you would give?
Um, I think my biggest piece of advice is separating what's happening at work versus what's happening at home. And that's easier said than done. But I found that when I was bringing home all of the anger and the stress and the whatever from work, especially this year, what I was doing is I was, number one, killing my immune system, killing my mental health, and putting myself last. And so when you're able to separate the two, you're actually able to show up for yourself outside of work. And that's what I've been doing. I also always say, like, I've been on this new rant of keeping promises to yourself. And it can be really hard when you're building a business and you're a mom and you are a teacher or you work in a corporate job, whatever that looks like for you, and you have a dog to take care of. Mine is scratching at the door right now. Um, like it can feel very overwhelming, but something that I've learned to do is separate. And it can be really hard, especially if you've lost a sense of who you are outside of your work or outside of motherhood or outside of whatever it is that you boxed yourself in for. And that can also take work to kind of get the get your own identity back outside of that little box.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing advice. I think ultimately if we don't have our health, we've got nothing. Like you can't work if you're not feeling well. You can't take care of your family if you're not feeling well. So, the most important thing ultimately is our health, and
Yeah,
we need to nurture ourselves and take care of ourselves. And if we're not doing that, we're not going to be healthy. And unfortunately, our system is set up for crisis intervention, not for prevention, right? Like
hmm
it's, oh, you need a mental health day? Yeah, because I'm having a freaking mental breakdown and I like want to be finished. Yes, I need a mental health day, but it's not like, why don't you take a mental health day every month before you need it?
hmm
People go to a therapist when they're like in crisis instead of going to talk to somebody before you actually have problems to talk about. It's
Yeah,
like I think turning the mindset into preventative action instead of like that whole intervention mindset of like, oh, here we are, we're in crisis, we need to triage and go, right? It's like the emergency room constantly instead of just like going for your checkup.
yeah. I also always say like, and I did this probably too late. I always say like invest in yourself, in your well-being, in your mental health. Like
Yeah,
I know I a lot of times I'm talking to teachers who are like, I can't afford that. Enough with I can't afford. I'm really sorry, but at the end of the day, your well-being, your mental health is the only way you show up.
exactly. You got a Netflix membership, you got a whatever, like you can afford it.
Yep. And it's
You
not,
can't afford not to do it is what I always say. It's like, when you say you can't afford something because, it's the preventative piece, like do the work before something breaks and then it's way more expensive. Then you actually have to like
exactly,
pay to fix something, right? It's like
exactly.
keep yourself in check so that you can, you know, avert crises away instead of having to deal with them once they're there.
Yeah,
Always. That's like
yeah,
saying if you have a leak in your roof, it's like, oh, I don't have money to fix it. I'll fix it later. It'll be fine. I'll just like put a bucket underneath the hole and it'll be fine. And then it gets bigger. It's like, oh shoot, I
yeah,
should have done, and now it's going to cost $1,000 more to fix it. It's like, oh,
exactly.
I don't have the money, so we're just gonna stick a bigger bucket underneath it, and then eventually your whole freaking ceiling caves in, and it's like $1 million to fix it, and you're like, oh, I really should have fixed that when it was just a little drip, and it would have cost $100. Like you can
versus
always find the money. You can always find the time. Like you can always find the resources when it's something that's important. And
agreed.
making you the number one priority and making you the most important thing in your life is everything for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I did that this year. I had to for my
Yeah.
own sanity. And it was not easy. It was not an easy conversation to have, but I had to because my sanity was just not there. I had to switch things around, do things differently in my life, and it wasn't a choice. It wasn't a choice. Whether or not I could afford it, didn't matter. I did it anyway.
Yeah. And I think that is the biggest takeaway. It's like just because you wrote a book doesn't make you perfect. It means that you're brave enough to put yourself out there and share your story with the world so that you can help other people who are in that stage where it's like, before this becomes a crisis, help yourself. Here's my contribution to the world to help
Yeah.
you go through this so that you're not alone and you know that you're not alone. And I think that's the most powerful thing a person can do. So, congratulations, first of
Thank
all, on
you.
becoming a published author. If you want to get this book from college to classroom, that's what it's called, right? I got that right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
you got it right.
I just, it's on Amazon. Go get it in the link in the show notes. We're going to tag everything here. If people want to find your work, if they're like, oh my gosh, this is everything, why did this not exist? Beyond the book, how can they track you down? Where's the best place to find you?
Honestly, the best place is Instagram. That's where I kind of hang out. I talk a lot about business on that Instagram platform, but I'm also there to help teachers if they need any support in the classroom. Um, I have one-on-one support for teachers who need support in the classroom, so that's always an option.
Amazing. And
Mhm.
what's the Instagram handle?
At Coach for Teachers.
Perfect. So we'll tag that in
Super
the show
easy.
notes as well. If you could leave our listeners with one last thing, it could be a piece of advice, a gold nugget, just anything you have left to say. What would that be?
I think, as I said before, I'm on this rant about keeping promises to yourself, and I actually was doing research because I'm that kind of person. I think the most important thing that I've learned, especially this year, being in a tough classroom, um, and writing this book while doing that, uh, is that y you have to keep promises to yourself. You have to. If that means you set boundaries, then you set boundaries. If that means you say no, then you say no. Because keeping promises to yourself is what's going to build that confidence. It's what's going to help you continue living life the way you want to live it, or maybe making life that much better.
I love that. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Go get your copy today on Amazon. Link is in the show notes. Go follow on socials, all the things. You can just go to the show notes and find it all. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.